What's going on, everybody? All right, it's Wednesday, it's Q&A day. We're halfway through the week. We're almost there to the weekend. And my Niners are 1-0. Now, it was not a pretty game. It was not pretty. And now we've got a whole bunch of injuries as a result, but we're 1-0. I will absolutely take that. And we will head into week 2 hoping to repeat the victory again. All right, this week you guys asked some really great questions. Again, as always, thank you to everybody who took the time to ask a question down below in the comments. All you have to do is type out the question. You don't have to say, this is a question for an upcoming episode. None of that. All you have to do is say, hey, Greg, and then type your question. And I would be happy to include it for an upcoming episode. We've got 5 great ones again, as always. Now, before we get going, though, there's a couple of quick reminders that I have. First reminder, the Midlife Community Show and Tell window for submission is currently open, and it will close on Sunday. So you still have a few more days if you'd like to have your favorite pickup from the month of August included in the Community Show and Tell. Down below in the description, there's a link to a Google form. It will ask for your name. It will ask for your email address. It will ask you to upload the picture. Why does it need your email address? Well, that is because, remember, if you enter a pickup, you are entered to win one of the 4 $25 gift cards from our friends at the Penny Sleever. The Penny Sleever is where I get my supplies. Is this a paid advertisement, Greg? Nope. It's just a fact. It's a fact that I think the Penny Sleever has some great stuff. Now, the other thing I want to throw out there, Saturday, I have the honor of hosting Hobby Hotline, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. So I will be setting my alarm clock early on Saturday morning, living on the West Coast, and I am going to be hosting Dr. Beckett, the Dr. Beckett, and Mike, Junk Wax Hero, and my buddy Adam over at Splendid Sports. A Hall of Famer, by the way. The only Hall of Famer of the group. The only Hall of Famer of the group, Adam. Congratulations. So, that is going to be Saturday. Please show up if you can make it. Again, live streams are all about how many people show up in the chat and how active the chat is. So, don't miss that. Questions for this week are good ones. There's some interesting ones. And as always, I'll share my thoughts. So let's take a look at the first one right here. If SGC is superior to PSA in terms of slab appearance, speed of processing, customer service, cost, and accuracy of grading, how then is PSA the premium brand? I don't know any Pokemon or ultra-modern collectors, but everyone I know in the vintage world puts a premium on and opts for SGC. All right, coming at me hard here. I said in a video, it was either last week or the week before, I talked about PSA being the premium brand when it came to grading. And I understand what you're saying here. I understand how you're like, how could you call them premium? The slabs look better for SGC. The turnaround time is better for SGC. The prices are better for SGC. Those are all premium things. How do you call them premium? Now, first of all, I'm not the person who gets to decide what is the premium brand and what is not the premium brand. I called PSA the premium brand because that's what they have become. It's not that I think PSA is the best option. In my last 5 or 6 submissions myself, I have submitted to SGC, but it doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what you think. It matters what the majority thinks. And it seems clear still. And again, I realize that the majority of people who are watching this are SGC people. So calling PSA the premium brand, let me just say that doesn't mean they're Greg's preferred brand. They're not the brand that Greg says that's the best brand. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the hobby community, the hobby as a whole, they have decided the PSA is the premium brand. Why do I say that? Well, they charge $20 to $25, depending on if you pay the club membership. But let's just say you don't pay the membership fee. You pay $25 for a PSA submission. You pay $15 for an SGC submission. That is a significant savings to submit with SGC. But PSA still gets 10 times as many submissions. And I know people are going to say, well, a lot of those are group submitters. A lot of those additional submissions are from people who have the membership. So it's only 20? Okay, let's just go with 20 then. But hold on, just take it easy on me. Take it easy. Let's just say it's 20 versus 15. But PSA is getting 10 times as many submissions every month as SGC. I was at the National. I saw the PSA booth, and there were people everywhere. And then I walked by the SGC booth, and all you saw and heard were crickets. It was very, very starkly different. Now, I understand how you would say that you like the SGC holder better. For me, a lot of cards I think look better in SGC as well. So I agree. I prefer $15 over 20 or 25. I agree that a lot of cards that I collect look better in the SGC holder over the PSA holder. But some of the cards I collect, I prefer in the PSA holder. Generally speaking, the older, like my pirate cards, here's a perfect example. I just sent off about 15 or 20 of my pirate cards in my 1888 Allen and Ginter set to SGC. I am paying hundreds of dollars to have cards that are in PSA holders go over to SGC holders. And some of those cards are going to get downgraded because they were graded a long time ago and they're not going to get the same grade that they were in the PSA holder. So I might be a complete idiot. And I might also be a complete idiot for doing this. but I like the looks. I like the presentation of these 1888 Allen and Ginter cards in a SGC holder so much more that I'm paying to have them crossed. But if I were to buy a modern card, this is just my opinion, I don't think modern cards look that great in SGC holders, my opinion. Cards from the 80s, I like them in PSA holders, my opinion. I like that PSA's holders are more sleek, my opinion. But I like the presentation of the tuxedo look and the black bordering around pre-war older cards. I do like that. So, what am I talking about? I'm not sure. You said that I am crazy. You didn't say those words. You said SGC is the premium brand. Everything about them is premium. Everyone you know prefers PSA. Here I am agreeing with almost everything you said. Almost everything you said, I agree with. The look for older cards, for me. The price, the turnaround time, all of that, I prefer for SGC. Nobody, absolutely nobody is rooting harder for SGC to remain on life support. Nobody is rooting harder than me. Nobody. I like SGC. I love SGC. But what I said was PSA is the premium brand. And I know there are PSA supporters out there, and they're throwing rocks at the screen saying he hasn't even mentioned the most important thing yet, which is resale value. For a lot of people. Now, again, a lot of people don't care about resale value or say they don't care about resale value. And a lot of people, they care about the look of the card. Some people, a lot of people, care about resale value. And as things stand right now, cards and PSA holders sell for more. I could go down a rabbit hole. I could go down a rabbit hole or a deer trail or a rabbit trail, whatever. I could go down a road right now and start a whole new discussion about the grading standards and stuff. I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting that right now PSA seems to be grading harder. And I think that's widely accepted right now. I think it's widely accepted that PSA is grading harder than they were. And I know that people are, I'm so tired of hearing about this. Okay. Just touch your screen and just go like that and I'll go away. I think that they're grading harder right now. And it's interesting to me that they're grading harder right as SGC is on life support. It's almost like they're trying to establish to everybody that PSA grades harder. So all those cards that are in SGC holders start to be remembered if they go away. If they go away, start to be remembered as softer graders. It's like while they're still both around, if PSA grades really hard while SGC, are they doing it for that? I don't know what's happening. Here's what I want. I want PSA to stick around. I want SGC to stick around. I want Beckett to take some steps to reintegrate themselves into the mix. And I want CGC to take some steps in the sports card collecting to be a part of the mix. I want competition. So, is PSA the premium brand? They sell for more. They have 10 times as many submissions as SGC, despite charging 30 to 40-ish% more. People would only pay 30 to 40% more to get something graded if it was worth it. And 10 times as many people are doing it. Do I want PSA to be considered the premium brand? No. I don't want there to be a premium brand. But as long as 10 times as many people are submitting to PSA and cards are selling for more in PSA holders than SGC holders, which they're not across the board, but most of the time they are. 90% of the time they are, maybe more. Then I think the community is saying that PSA is the premium brand. Not Greg, not me. I'm not saying that. What I was saying is it feels like I think the community has said and accepted and stamped them as the premium brand. Not me. I continue to submit to SGC. More submissions, 10 times as many. Higher prices. Well, that's just because of the registry. Maybe. But the registry is still there. Regardless of what the reason is, they're selling for more. And they're getting 10 times as many submissions. So a company that gets 10 times as much business as another cheaper, less expensive company and has inferior service and their stuff sells for more, I don't want to say they're the premium brand, but it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck. It could be a goat. It could be a goose. Could be a duck. I don't know. You guys tell me. And I know a lot of you watching this right now hate what I'm saying. I don't even like what I'm saying. I'm just saying what I think, not what I want to believe. There's a big difference between what I think and what I want to believe. Big difference. Big. This first one says, "Hi Greg, since I started using Card Ladder, I really enjoy seeing the chart of the historical prices. Do you utilize the charts to buy cards when they are at their support levels? I see prices on certain cards fluctuate between those support levels and higher. I do this with stocks. Just wondering if it works for cards too." All right. Sometimes it's easiest to just share from the computer. So, um, because you're asking in this case about some charts and some card ladder stuff, I just felt like it'd be best to share it. And I didn't used to ever respond to a lot of stuff in this format until I got a better mic. My mic before was a little bit rough, but now that I have a better mic, I'm much more willing to do it. So, if you're curious, what are we referring to about resistance levels, about charts and using those charts? I'm going to go ahead and start to answer the question by explaining what we're talking about. So, I'm going to go ahead and share the screen here. So I pre-pulled up three different cards, kind of well-known cards that a lot of us are familiar with, and I'm going to explain the concept in question here. So the first one is an 89 Upper Deck Ken Griffey Jr. We all know this card. And this particular one is in a PSA 9, which you can see right up here. And we could switch it to a different grade if we wanted, but we don't because I wanted to look at the PSA 9s, which is not the super expensive one, but still a nice copy. So if we look here, what is resistance level? So here is a chart. Here is the card ladder chart, and I have chosen the last 3 months. You can see right there, I have 3 months selected. You can also look at some of the recent sales over here to the right, and you can select different ranges. But Card Ladder pulls data from a lot of different places like eBay and Fanatics and so on. So let's take a closer look at the chart itself. So, what does resistance level mean? Now, if you look here, you can see that the card has some spikes and the card has some drops, but for whatever reason, it doesn't really want to get under this amount right here, right around $200. So right here, it goes down to 199.50. Right here, it's 205. Right here, it's 197.51. Right here, it's 208. So the resistance level means the card, for whatever reason, in the last 3 months, uh, as soon as it gets to about 200, it won't go much lower than that. And that's what we mean by resistance level. Now, there are some higher sales, like up here, there was one for 294, another one for 294. This one was 308. We have one out here at 280. Again, these are just sales in the last 3 months. So when you look at a chart like this, you say, interesting. It doesn't really want to go below 200. So if you can then buy it for 200, you know that it's probably not going to go too far below 200 because there seems to be a resistance level at this card going below 200. We can expand the chart a little bit. Let's look at 6 months. So look at back here. So on March 10th, there was one for 153. Then for a while, it looks like there was a resistance level of about 180, 185. And then recently, this card has surged a little bit, and the resistance level has been about 200 ever since early May. So here we are in September and early May. So like the last quarter, so last 4 or 5 months, the card really, I mean, look at all of those sales right in there, right at about the $200 mark. You have to go pretty much before April to see any sales before below $200. So that's what we're talking about resistance. If you can kind of find the bottom number that the card has been selling for the last few months, that's sort of the resistance point. Let's go ahead and take a look at a Bob Gibson, a 59 Topps Bob Gibson. So this one I chose the last year. One of the reasons I chose the last year is because this card doesn't sell as often. It's not as frequently transacted. And so if we look at it, this particular one that I chose is a PSA 5. Just thought that would be an interesting grade to check. And what I'm going to do now is I am going to look at the chart. And the chart says right here, we got 565. It sold for December 23rd. But pretty much it doesn't want to go below 600. So here's one at 635. We got a couple at about 650. Got one at 632, another one at 610. This next one got to 700. So in the last year, this card has only sold below $600 once. So the resistance level, it's like it'll go up and then it'll come down, but it won't really go below 600. Now, if we go at the last 6 months, which is a little bit more relevant to our current time frame, 700, 749, 710, never went below $700. That seems to be the resistance mark on this card in a 5 over the last 6 months. So if you look at the last year, again, it didn't really want to go below 650, except for that one, right? 600 is probably the resistance mark. But in the last 6 months, which is probably more relevant, it doesn't want to go below 700. So that means if you can get that card below 700, then you're kind of buying it at the bottom of the resistance spot. We'll look at one more card and then we'll search one together. I'll show you how I did this, how I found these charts. In case you're new to Card Ladder, I've said this many times. I will continue to shamelessly plug Card Ladder. I have partnered with them. They're really my first main partner. And the only reason I was willing to partner with them is because I believe in the company. I believe in the leadership. I believe in the software, in the app. I believe in what they're doing. And so if you use the promo code Midlife, just Midlife, it will get you one of two things. You can either get a month free. So heck, why not try it out for a month for free? If you don't use my promo code, you can try it out for a week. But with Midlife as the promo code, you get it for a month. If you want to just get it, if you want to just buy it, you can get $20 off for a year. So when you go to use the promo code Midlife, you will have one of two options that you can toggle between. Either try it for a month or get $20 off for a year. I know a lot of people have said, man, that's too much money. I don't use comps enough. The way I look at it, and I'll just be straight, is if one card you can get information to improve the sale of a card or the purchase of a card because you have more information through Card Ladder, then you could probably pay for half a year or a year just in a couple of purchases. I think it kind of pays for itself. The other thing is the amount of time I spend with my cards and looking at cards and looking up values of cards. It is my hobby. And so it's not a lot to spend when I compare how much I use Card Ladder to how often I use my Disney Plus account, which is like what, $20 a month. So it's like the same amount as Disney Plus, but I hardly ever use Disney Plus, but I still have it. And Card Ladder I use all the time. Just my take. Let's look at a 54 Topps Hank Aaron in a PSA 4. If we look here, this is the last year that I have chosen. And it looks like this one sold for $3,800. This next one, $3,840. Some more resistance right around that $3,750 mark. Lots of sales right around the $3,750, $3,800. There's one sale on here that sold for $3,200. But other than that one in the PSA 4, there's a lot of resistance right around $3,700, $3,800. So to me, again, that tells you that's kind of over the last year where it bottoms out. My guess is this was either an auction that ended at a weird time, the 3,200 one, or maybe it was severely off center. Maybe it was a 4OC, something like that, that threw the number off. But to me, this card has a lot of resistance right around that 37.50 mark. All right. So again, how did we do this? Let's just go to, if I were to open up Card Ladder, there's all of these different choices on the left. The easiest way for me to find this data is to go up to the search bar here and we'll type in a card. How about we go with a 1979 Topps Ozzie Smith rookie card? And sure, let's go with an 8. That's what popped up here. We can obviously find a PSA 7 or 6 or whatever, but let's go ahead with the 8. Now, the card pops up over to the right, and on the left, what you see is some sales volume stuff. But I want to look at the card on the right here, and I'm going to go down. You can see the market cap, last sold price, last sold date, card ladder value of the card, pop. So if you wanted to see the pop, you could click on that, and you can see the pop report in all the different grades for PSA, BGS, and SGC, again, by clicking on that little book there. But if I go back, here is the card in an 8. Again, there's the population information. And down right here is the sales data. So I can go ahead and just click on View All Sales right there, right above the chart. And what it does is it pulls up all this information about the card. So again, what did it sell for, rate of growth over time, all that kind of stuff. So if we look over the last year, this card has been trending upwards for sure. And if we look at this over the last, so about a year ago, the resistance level was right around 250. Look at this, 256, 250, 235, 250. And then it kind of went up, but then it started to go back down. Again, resistance, 251, 256, 258, 256. And then it kind of broke through in the last 6 months. And in the last 6 months, the resistance level is right at $300. So look at this, 305. 305, 302, 308. Card has not gone under $300 since this one sale in March. And if you go back, it doesn't go below 300 again in 2025. So the resistance level here for a few months was about 300, and then it kind of had a breakthrough. And now it looks like the resistance level is about 330. So that's kind of an overview of what resistance level means. Now, to answer the question, do I look at resistance levels to make card purchasing decisions? To be honest, I don't. What I do is I wait for the right eye appeal card. Now, if there's a card that is frequently transacted, like if I was going to buy a PSA 9 Ken Griffey Jr., 89 upper deck, I would probably look at something like this and go, what's the bottom? And I'm going to try to get one for the bottom. A lot of the cards that I'm currently hunting aren't frequently transacted. And if they are, they're infrequently nice looking in the grade that I tend to buy. So what I'm looking for are cards in the grades of like 1.5 to 3. And most of those look like they got dropped out of the car on the highway. But what I'm looking for is the one that doesn't look like that. I'm looking for the one that looks like a 3.5 or a 4, but it received the 2 or the 2.5 or the 3. And that's a different hunt. So I'm willing to go over comp when I find the 2 that looks like a 3. So it's a different sort of game. So if you're looking for a card like an Ozzie Smith rookie card, like a Ken Griffey Jr. upper deck, then I think this concept of looking for a resistance point, looking for what the low end goes for, and waiting until you can find one at that price, I think that makes sense. But for me, which the question was asked to me of what do you do, Greg? Do you ever do this? I find this interesting, this sort of data type of looking at trends, seeing how that Ozzie Smith has been going up over the last year is interesting to me. The seeing the resistance point of the
Bob Gibson. This is fun. This is part of the reason that I think Card Ladder is worth every dollar, because it's fun to play with this stuff and look at sales history and look at growth history. And I mean, I can pull it back up for a second. If we look at this Ozzie Smith, I don't have to just look at 1 year. I can go back 2 years, look at the sales history of this card in an 8. I can go back to all time. I mean, this goes way back. I mean, they have a lot of sales history data back to about 2012. And look at what this card was doing before the pandemic. Look at the Ozzie Smith in an 8 before the pandemic. It was right around, the resistance level was $100 to $115. And then all of a sudden, during the pandemic, it topped out at $600. And then it quickly came back down and it settled. And as we can see, and as we've been talking about, things are going back up rapidly again, which is part of the reason why the first topic on Hobby Hotline on Saturday on the For Collectors channel, which I am honored to be hosting, and I'll be hosting Dr. Beckett. He knows a thing or two about tracking values of cards and when cards have gone up and when cards have gone down. I'll also be hosting Adam of Splendid Sports, a recent YouTube Hall of Famer. And then my buddy Mike, Junk Wax Hero, will also be on with us again. That is on Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. But very flat for a long, long time, maybe a slight trend up. Then COVID took it nuts, came back down above where it was before. And then recently, look at that. This, to me, looking at these charts is definitely fun. So that part of the question, I love geeking out on this stuff. Love it. And they don't just have it of cards, they have it of indexes. You can look up indexes, but that wasn't the question. So yeah, this is interesting, but does it really dictate how I am buying right now? No, I am more of the eye appeal is dictating the purchases, not the resistance level. Because for me, in a lot of the cards, the difference between some 2s and some 3s and some 1.5s from a card from 1920 can be dramatically different. And so I'm more of focusing on eye appeal. But, you know, a card like Bob Gibson rookie, I'd like to have. So it's good to know what the resistance is at when it comes time to look at that card and adding that card. So I think it's interesting. I think for cards that are frequently transacted and aren't hard to find in decent looking condition, I think that's a good idea. But it's not, and I'm just being honest, it's not something that I'm really doing at this moment, because the things that I kind of am hunting, it's a different type of hunt than a price hunt. It's an eye appeal hunt amongst a bunch of cards that don't have much of it. So I hope that helps. But again, Card Ladder, promo code Midlife, 1 month free. At least get the free month, guys. Got nothing to lose. I had to negotiate to get us a free month instead of the free week that you get automatically. So promo code Midlife gets you a free month. Check it out.
This next one says, great stuff. I'm completely in your camp when it comes to your opinion on social media, both for personal and hobby use. Though I do feel like, if anything, the community would benefit from more sharing and discussing of cards in favor of their markets and values. I couldn't agree more about resisting the urge to compare against others' collections. That said, here's my likely too long question for you. Even though we all know we shouldn't do it, social media inevitably has to influence how most of us collect, right? Isn't it the natural response to certain people receiving tons of interaction, likes, comments, and views on YouTube, Instagram, Reddit, etc.? For example, I think a collector who collects what they love but does not get the praise of others may see those with large following and influence
picking up 4 and 5 figure cards, heck, even 3 figure cards, receiving a ton of love, and feel pressure to step outside of their budget or comfort zone to do the same. Of course, it takes discipline to resist those urges and collect within your means. But I think these external pressures are often overlooked and a concern to the community as a whole, similar to social media in our personal lives. What are your thoughts, and do you think there is a way to combat these influences?
Absolutely a fair point. Absolutely a fair point that we see people that get attention and then we are influenced by what they're doing or what they do. 100%. My dad was a basketball coach for 30 years. Might have been more than 30 years. And when he was a basketball coach, I remember I went to his practices I went to hundreds of my dad's practices over the years. And from about 1988 or so, I was 9 years old. For about 5 or 6 years, all of his players had bad left knees. Isn't that crazy that they all had bad left knees? And I know what you're thinking. What are you talking about, Greg? Well, Michael Jordan wore a knee or a calf brace on his left leg for a long, long time. And all of these kids that played for my dad and the other teams, they all saw Michael Jordan and he was the guy. And they wanted to be just like Mike. I want to be like Mike, right? That was even the song, the commercial. I want to be like Mike. And guess what? Everybody was wearing a knee brace. They didn't need a knee brace. These 7th and 8th grade kids, he was a middle school basketball coach, didn't need a knee brace, but they wore a knee brace. They wore a knee brace because they saw Michael Jordan wearing a knee brace. People want to kind of connect in whatever way they can with things that they see. And a lot of the channels that are out there, people are picking up big cards and stuff. Is there a way to combat that? Well, I can't tell anybody out there what they should or shouldn't do. I can make suggestions. I can make recommendations. When I started my channel and I was working, pumping out videos like crazy and no one was paying attention to me, I had a vision of what I wanted my channel to be, and what I didn't have a vision of is, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go out and buy some really expensive cards. Then everyone will want to watch me. That has never crossed my mind. Some people live in a different stratosphere financially than me. Some above me, some below me, most above me, and they collect what makes them happy. I am a person who genuinely gets excited for other collectors when they pick up a big card. There is no jealousy. There is no envy. Honestly, there's not. Honestly, there is none from me. So what can I do? I think the question is what can be done. I'll tell you what I do. What I do is I celebrate everybody's pickups. Right now, if you submit down in the description, you submit your favorite pickup from August. It doesn't matter if the card is a $3 card or a $30,000 card. It will be shown on my pickup video a week from Friday for the same amount of time. I don't go, well, look at that. That's a $50,000 card, so that's going to get 3 minutes. And this $2 card is going to get 3 seconds. Everybody gets the same amount of time. Every pickup matters. Every pickup is worth being celebrated. So that's something I do. Something I want to do is show everybody that your pickup is worthy of being seen and celebrated. And there's a story behind why you're excited about it. And that's the important part. It's not even the card. It's that you are excited about it. So that's something I do. Another thing that I do is every month, in fact, in 2 days on Friday, I'll be dropping my video on cards that sold in the last month on eBay for under $50. And I do that for a variety of reasons. One reason I do it is because I'm looking for trends in the market. And let me tell you, I've been pulling some of those cards. Something made my head like literally explode this month. That'll be seen on Friday. But I want people to see that the hobby doesn't have to be expensive to be fun. There's a reason I picked $50. Most of us out there can scratch together $50 every month or every other month and be a participant at that price point. Some of the cards I'm going to show this month, because I've been collecting them over the last couple of days. It takes a while. Are under $10, but they're all under $50. Everyone can participate at that point. So one thing I try to do is promote cards at an affordable price point. So I celebrate all pickups. I talk about different cool cards under $50. And the other reason I do that video is because I like to try to show a variety of different cards. I do it for 20 years, from 1950 to 1969 is where I'm looking. And a lot of the times I'll pick a card, not because the card kind of caught my eye in a surprising way on the price, but because I'm like, oh, it would be good to show that card because there are people out there that might be interested in that card but aren't familiar with that card. So I'm going to show a variety of cards. So it's a way to potentially introduce people to some cards that they otherwise maybe weren't aware of. It's a way to celebrate cards at a price point that we can all participate in. And it's a way to kind of see what trends are happening in the greater market. And some people aren't interested in cards under $50. That doesn't get them excited. Their adrenaline does not heat up. And that's why I have at the end 10 moonshot cards, 10 huge sales that happen during the month. So we can see what's happening in that market, but also we can scratch the itch of people who collect in a different area. So what can we do as a hobby? I think what we can do, and what I try to do, is continue to celebrate the excitement of cards at a variety of price points, including low ones. And I'll tell you this, I don't know how much influence people actually have, because guess what? I have spent the last 2 years talking about pirate cards from 1888. The price of those pirate cards are still very affordable. So if people are watching me and going, I'm getting all these ideas from this, Greg is an influencer. That always cracks me up. He's an influencer. He is pumping the market. Cool. I'm pumping the pirate card market. Seems like what would have been smarter for me, if I was going to pump something, seems like I would have pumped something that A, I already had, and B, I could make some money off of. I just am sharing what I like. And some of you think the cards that I buy are ridiculous. And in some ways they are ridiculous, but I like them. So what I'm trying to do is show a joy of collecting whatever you like. And what I like is pirate cards. And I think you see that. When I pick up a pirate card, you guys go, he looks so happy. He looks so excited to pick up that card. I am. It's not because it's a $10,000 card. It's because it's a card I think is beautiful. For me, most of what I like and most of what I collect are things that I think are beautiful relics from the past. And I have fun talking about it. So that's how I'm trying to do my part, is by celebrating not just expensive stuff, but inexpensive stuff too. I'm not doing a video of the 10 most expensive cards that sold at the REA auction and the Love of the Game auction and the Golden auction and just looking at massive cards all day. I'm trying to celebrate and show excitement for all types of cards. There are other channels that might do other things. Great. I don't have any problem with what anyone else does. But I'm with you, and that's how I try to promote affordable collecting.
This next one says, question, how do you feel about card companies making reprints of the vintage cards?
This is a good question. This is an interesting question, and I could go a lot of different routes with it. I have very, very mixed feelings on this. So I'm just going to get straight to the point on what do I think about reprint cards. In some ways, I like it because what it does is it takes an old card that maybe is a somewhat forgotten card and it introduces it in present time to help us appreciate past cards. It's almost like PR for vintage cards by doing a reprint. It's taking an old thing and making it relevant now. So in that regard, I like it. But as a whole, if I'm being honest, I don't like reprints. I don't like reprints for two main reasons. Reason number one, I don't like reprints is I feel like depending on how the reprint is done, if the reprint is done in a very aesthetically, I don't even know the right verbiage. Joe Perot, I need your help. In a way, if it's done in a way where the card could potentially be manipulated to look like it's actually an original. So I think that by printing a reprint, and I know a lot of times they put reprint on it, but trust me, people do all sorts of stuff to cards to alter them. It worries me that we are potentially making it easier to misrepresent something as something else. And I think making reprints makes it easier for somebody to potentially pull one over on someone else. And you say, I would never mistake a reprint for a real card. Well, you might not, but not everybody in the hobby is that comfortable with being able to spot real versus not real. So for that regards, I don't like it. And that is enough for me to say I'm against it. Even though, like I just said a second ago, there is a benefit from it. The other reason I don't like it, and if I'm being, this is just selfishly, I hate it when I go to search for 1915 Cracker Jack and I have a whole bunch of search results of modern cards that have the Cracker Jack design of modern players. I want 1915 Cracker Jack cards, not cards of modern players that are designed in the 1915 Cracker Jack way. So it completely screws up my searches when I'm searching for cards that I'm interested in. I type in T206, I get a whole bunch of cards of modern players on T206 designs. Super annoying. So as a whole, I'm anti-reprint cards. But there is some positives. There's positives that come out of most things, reprints included, that it is a way to remind the current hobby of past hobby history. But if I were to be the final decider on it, I would say no to reprints.
My guy over at Straight Race Cards says, great video, Greg. My question this week: what movies have impacted your card collecting journey? For me, Chariots of Fire has been a reminder to me to focus on cards that inspire me and have meaning to me, just like Chariots of Fire has been in my life.
This is a really fun question, an interesting question. Check out Straight Race Cards channel if you haven't. A really good guy. Here is my take on this. I'm not a big movie guy. I just don't watch a lot of movies. I have a hard. I know this might seem hard to believe. I have a hard time sitting still that long. Being trapped in a movie theater chair or on in front of the screen for that long without any break is hard for me. I have to get up and move around. If you were to try to hang out with me on the sidelines of one of Lucy's soccer games, you'd wear out your shoes. I just move around a lot. And so I don't do a ton of movies. There was a time in my life I had a great appreciation for movies, so I was watching a lot of classic movies so that I was like socially aware of pop culture during different times. But I'm not a big movie guy. That said, one of the best things that movies can do is they can transport you to a different time period. And by transporting you to a different time period, you can get a pretty good idea, if it's done well, of what it was like during that time period. And so for my collecting, you guys know me. I like modern stuff. I don't collect a ton of modern stuff. I do like a lot of modern cards. In fact, there are a couple of cards since 2000 that I've been really thinking about recently that if I bought them might completely shock some of you. But I do like modern cards. But most of what I like is old stuff because I love history. I love nostalgia. I like relics. I like artifacts, and that's what vintage cards are. They're a combination of all those things, and a lot of them also include sports, which I also enjoy greatly, obviously. So the movie that transports me to the time period that I'm most intrigued by, the best, is The Natural. Love that movie. If you were to say, what are your top 5 favorite movies? Well, top 5 sports movies might be number 1. Hoosiers is great, but The Natural, really, really, really high on the list. If you were to say top 5 favorite movies of all time, The Natural might make my top 5 movies overall. Probably would. That is a time period where they're traveling by train, they're whistle stop stuff, pick up, challenges at different stops, people in the crowd wearing, fedoras and suits and smoking, and the sounds and the looks in that movie are very much transport me to a period of time that I'm very curious about and I'm very interested in. And a lot of the baseball history that I collect from is based on. The other one, it's been a long time since I've seen it, but a lot of the times because you know how we all kind of picture things? Like we go, what was it? Like, oh yeah, what was it like? Imagine what it was like when Ty Cobb was playing. A lot of the images that I think about from a time like that is in that kind of same sort of backdrop of The Natural and 8 Men Out, which 8 Men Out was a long time ago, but was obviously the Black Sox scandal, Shoeless Joe, all that kind of stuff. So when I am thinking about, oh man, yeah, Walter Johnson, and when I think about like for golf purposes, like when I think about like old golfers, like I think about the legend of Bagger Vance, right? It transports me to what it would have been like at that time. And that's pretty cool. In fact, Walter Hagen is one of the players in kind of a prominent figure in the movie. And so for golf, The Legend of Bagger Vance. influences my collecting the most because it kind of transports me to that time. For baseball, by far number one is the natural, but there is some 8 Men Out kind of sprinkled in there as well. It's a good question, interesting question. Let me know down below which one is for all of you guys. You know, you could say some Field of Dreams stuff, but Field of Dreams is interesting because it's more of a modern setting with some flashback stuff and some visits from the past. It's not really set in that time period like the natural is. If you guys have a question for an upcoming episode, please do not hesitate to ask down below in the comments. Simply ask your question and I will share it in a upcoming episode. Remember, Friday will be cards under $50 with a trend that is intriguing for sure. Saturday morning, come hang out with us on Hobby Hotline over on the For Collectors channel. Sunday is the deadline for the Midlife Community Show and Tell episode to upload your favorite pickup from the month of August. Go down below to the description, click on the link to the Google form, and you'll also be entered into that drawing to win a gift card from the Penny Sleever to pick up some sweet hobby supplies.